Happy Thursday, everybody. Kevin and Robin here with a little wine installation, a day late, but thought we'd take the day off and pay our respects yesterday. So here we are on Thursday, but we'll be just as good or bad,
Absolutely.
whatever we are. I don't
Better.
know. Better. More rested. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got some fun stuff this week and some new swag. I always like new swag. Tell me what we
know.
got here.
Little corksicle glass, so I don't know, sometimes I go out for a nice wintry stroll and I
Oh,
need
yeah.
something to take a little beverage on the road with me, so
You know what these
got
are good
this guy.
for? Halloweening. I mean, I know we just missed it, but I love these for a little neighborhood walk. These are awesome. And with the Market Wines logo, I'd say that's the hot item of the season. I think.
absolutely.
I've already got mine.
Unlike your favorite toque that
Oh,
you
well, you can't buy those. That's an exclusive item. So
it's just for you.
yeah, those are just for staff to keep us warm when we're out there unloading trucks. But these look amazing. New corkscrews today too.
New corkscrews today, we got all the stuff in.
I think I'm gonna put this fancy little guy to use right now.
Please do. First
All right.
winter white up for grabs.
You want to talk about your pack while I open these, or?
Sure. So under our cozy little toque here, we have our winter whites pack. As you can see, if you've been outside lately, the snow has fallen. It's been pretty chilly. But sometimes I still want a glass of white wine, and it's not going to be that crisp kind of like refreshing patio sipper that I like. I want something a little bit weightier. So we picked three super fun wines, a couple that are newer to us. The Carignan Blanc from Jeff Perel.
That is tasting good. I like that wine a lot. It kind of reminds me of like the Northern Rhone whites, right? It's got that little bit of waxiness to it, like that kind of beeswax thing, like a little bit of like apricot-y sort of flavors. Like,
Yeah, and
really
Carignan
fun.
Blanc is really, like, this is the first time I'd ever had
Too.
one.
I
Sous
didn't even know it was a
Montaigne,
thing.
foot of the mountains, base of the Pyrenees, right bordering Spain and the south of France.
Yeah,
Super
exciting
cool
wines.
little wine.
Yeah, it's an exciting little area that we've kind of picked up on in the last year. So we're starting to see a lot of wines from the Roussillon. For me, it's like that last bastion of France that nobody knows about. For a long time, it was really just the realm of inexpensive fortified wines. So now we're seeing winemakers going in there and finding these really cool old vineyards, grape varieties that nobody's heard of, really old vineyards in some super isolated places. So it's been fun for us to learn about these wines because it's completely new and different and fun. So as wine nerds, this is like really cool for us to just find these new things, and for wine drinkers, you're going to see some incredible value. They're much less expensive than the more classic wines out of the Rhone and Languedoc, so some really cool stuff.
There's also a brand new little Viognier in there, a French Viognier
yeah.
that we brought in. It's only been around for a couple of weeks. And with the Viognier too, I took it on myself to try it for you all last weekend.
Sacrifices
It was hard.
never stop.
But I really enjoyed it. It wasn't as heavy and weighty as some Viogniers can be.
Right.
It was a little bit softer, a little more restrained, so really pretty little wine that way. And of course, Grace and Chardonnay.
Yeah, I think Viognier is changing a little bit. Like for what we thought about Viognier 10 years ago, which was this rich, like unctuous, weighty wine with like low acid, a lot of supplier or producers now are starting to harvest the grapes a little bit earlier in the season, so they're trying to make like a fresher example of it. So we still have that classic Viognier like aromatic. You get a wine with just like a little more freshness to it, and I like that style. And yeah, Grace and Chard. What do you got to say about that? It's been the best-selling Chardonnay in the store for ever and a day.
It's a
so
staple.
Yeah, you really can't beat it. Every time I go back and try that, I'm always impressed by how good it is. It tastes like a $35 Chardonnay for $25, so great deal.
Great segue, because in front of us we have a
Ooh.
$35 Chardonnay.
Yeah, that tastes like a
That tastes
$50
like-
Chardonnay. I'm such a big fan of this. Kind of a fun story with Xavi, because every year I go and visit Xavi, and I don't think I've missed visiting him in the last, like maybe once in the last like 18 years since we started working with his wines. And he's a funny guy. He doesn't make a lot of wine. He only makes Pouligny Marché. So his winery is in Pouligny. He's a very small amount. When you go into his winery, you can actually tell by how many barrels that are full in there, like how big the harvest was. It's really that kind of small. So if you go in and see like there's just a few barrels, it was kind of a tough year for him. But he's always got a big smile on his face. And something I learned about, like 7 or 8 years ago, we were there, is he declassifies a lot of Pouligny Marché, which is crazy. Nobody does that. So he's got really high standards for what goes in his village level wine. So even though the grapes are grown in Pouligny Marché, and he can call them Pouligny Marché, which sells for $70, he declassifies a fair bit of it every year just to keep the quality of the Pouligny higher. So everything that gets declassified goes in just a basic Bourgogne Blanc. and also a little bit of grapes that just sit on the edge of Pouligny. But basically what you're getting is like, an almost Pouligny Marché for like half or less than half the price. So for me, this is always really one of the best deals in the store. And we literally write our names with chalk on the barrels when we go. Because he forgets, like he's a happy, fun-loving guy, but he always forgets and he sells it off, and everybody wants it. So if you don't sort of state, your claim on his wines. So the first time I went in there, I just took a piece of chalk and just wrote my name on the barrels and just said, these are for us, so don't forget us. And he laughed, and he always thought that was funny. So we always get a decent allocation of this now because we were missing it for a few years, and I hate missing this wine because I do think it's one of the best deals in the store. And judging by how much the staff drinks, I'm not alone on that.
You're not alone. It is definitely one of my favorites. And again, like moving into Burgundy, like you're saying, everything else is kind of $70, a little bit higher price point. And this really drinks quite comparable. It's super, super pretty, really opulent and generous. They use about 70% in barrel for aging for 12 months, but none of it's new oak. So again, It just adds a bit more richness without it being like really in your face.
It's so incredible to think that this is just $35 wine, because if you were to put this in a blind tasting with a bunch of $50, $60 white Burgundies, it would absolutely
It's going to
hold
stand up
its
for
own.
sure.
And it does have that prettiness at Pouligny too. So you have that minerality, you have the freshness, but it's just like that magical thing that Pouligny Marché does, which is why it's all super expensive. But this guy is, I think, the best deal in the shop. And a lot of years restaurants kind of steal a lot of it, right? Between the staff and the restaurants, there isn't a lot to go around. This year we got a decent amount of it. So 2018 was a little more generous vintage. The wine has a lot more richness this year too, a little bit warmer. So there's so much going on here.
Can
If
you wear
like
wine
Chardonnay,
as perfume? quite
I wouldn't discourage you from that move at all. It smells so pretty. If you're a fan of Chardonnay, if you love white Burgundy, don't miss this wine. It's such a steal. I love this wine. So, anything else to say?
I don't
You
know.
smell
I
good.
think that's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
nice work. All right.
I smell like it all day.
I think that's it. So enjoy the day. Hopefully we'll see you this weekend.
And on that